Management, and Chief Halford is back. Could you introduce yourself and your colleagues and then make what presentation you'd like to make?
Sure. To my right is Kevin Penny, he's a Deputy Director of the Office of Emergency Management. And to my left is Barbara Gamerick. She's our Fiscal Affairs Manager for the department. We have some other people coming, but I think we're just running a little ahead of time, so
Yep.
you'll see when they come in, and you know them all since they work out of your office, actually. And I'd like to start out by just saying I don't think it's been brought home more succinctly than how important the Office of Emergency Management is. And that was brought out in the historic flood of May 2010. And now we're well past that, but you know, all those memories stay with us, and our operations in the Office of Emergency Management, where we all came together as a team to work on this flood and help our citizens. The Office of Emergency Management, you know, it's one of those things where when you don't need them, you don't really think too much about them. But we know the important and vital role they play. In that office brings together all the resources, decision makers of government, so we can assist our field providers in times of disasters or emergencies. Even if they're not big disasters or emergencies, just small ones, it's important that we have a functioning Office of Emergency Management. The Office of Emergency Management maintains the comprehensive emergency management plans, which is an all hazards disaster planning documents. They prepare, they mitigate, they respond, and they recover, which are the 4 phases of emergency management. So I know that you know personally, and all of our citizens know now just how important it is. And we're grateful for the folks that are over there to keep that operation moving along, so that if we do have an activation, we do have to respond to the needs of our citizens, that we're in the best position to do so. Within the last fiscal year, we've had many accomplishments in the Office of Emergency Management. We've actually activated 11 times within this last year in preparation for a potential response to severe weather. Most recently, a few weeks ago, as you mentioned in another hearing, we activated due to some severe threats of tornadoes and severe weather that we were saved, except for a lot of hail but some other counties were not so fortunate. Now, we may, again, activate partially, and rarely do we activate fully. And partial activation is simply the calling together of about 5 to 10 resources that you might need in a potential or a minor level event, such as some minor flooding or some hazardous material leak or some severe weather, tornadoes and things of that nature. Where the threat is not actually severe, but the potential is there. Also this year, in conjunction with all the stakeholders and not only government agencies, but our private sector as well, we fully, when we revised that plan, and in addition to that, we came up with some new, memorandums of understanding. And one of the things we learned during the flood is that the memorandums of understanding, we have key organizations like Hands on Nashville is a very important one, that it works. And if you know what you're going to do and you know what you're going to do in advance, and you have these key alliances with those private sector places, such as Hands on Nashville, they work. And we've developed 4 new ones for this year. Kevin, you just want to just briefly go over the 4 new ones that we've developed?
Sure. Tennessee Foreign Language Institute is the first one, and basically the objective there is to provide assistance in translation and non-English speaking communities in the county for emergency responders in particular, as well as interpretation. The Housing Fund to help with local housing needs post-disaster, disaster assistance to victims. The Red Cross, we've always had a good relationship with Red Cross, but we formalized that relationship more with an MOU this past year. The Community Resource Center will handle distribution and collection of bulk donated goods post-disaster, and the Tennessee United Methodist Church organizations will handle case management.
Those areas are areas where after our last our flood event, We went in and some members from the recovery team and looked at key areas we could improve in, and those are some of the results that are, and we'll have some more results coming up in the near future.
Well, I think one of the things for the viewing audience to understand is that when we operate the emergency management, it's not just government, it's nonprofits and others involved in helping us respond to an emergency. And Kevin just gave us a list of new, for the most part, nonprofits that are going to be partnering with the city to respond to emergencies. And sort of the good example I can give of why this is so important would be the MOU that pre-existed the May 2010 flood with Hands on Nashville. I mean, everybody knows the story of the flood, that really the story is the way the citizens of Nashville responded through volunteer efforts. But one of the things that worked so well was having this pre-existing arrangement with Hands on Nashville, where we had an MOU where they would be the volunteer coordinators for recovery and for help during the flood. And so when we got up to your guys' offices up there on May 1st, Brian Williams from Hands on Nashville is already there. We called for volunteers. They had a place for all volunteers to go and work, gave them meaningful assignments, meaningful equipment. And so that's what helped Nashville take advantage of thousands and thousands of volunteers, was having this pre-existing arrangement. So it's good to know that we're following up with that, doing more, working with foreign language residents of the city to have services available to them, working with other nonprofits to coordinate the receiving goods and things like that. So that's a very positive thing.
In terms of the two other accomplishments, we did complete at the very beginning of 2011 a comprehensive after-action report for the flood disaster. Many of these recommendations have already been implemented. We also, OEM conducted and participated in a total of 95 trainings and workshops with emphasis on emergency management and citizen preparedness for Metro Nashville. In terms of moving to our budget for this year, the 2% reduction has an impact to the department, but for the most part, while budget reductions are always challenging, the proposed 2% reduction will mostly impact, if taken, non-salary operating costs in OEM, so we don't anticipate having to eliminate any personnel. And we're hopeful, even with that our emergency management program grant that we get from the state, or EMPG, will assist us in meeting those challenges, or along with appropriate belt tightening. But the reductions are in all other areas that we'd make, such as cell phones and areas like that nature, things that are associated with just keeping the business part of it working. And we're hopeful that we can still yet accomplish and meet budget. And that's pretty much it for reductions.
Okay. You mentioned, you don't need to go into a lot of detail, but one of the things we've worked together on is making improvements as a result of the flood of 2010, and there are some announcements that will be coming up in May of this year.
Yes.
Could you just touch a little bit upon what we've been working on?
Some of the areas that we're working on is a program called, it's a SAFE program. We've actually been using it for a while in test modes, but it's a tool that where the Metro's Department of Planning, along with, very heavily with Water Services Department, Mr. Potter and his folks, and his stormwater managers and engineers, along with the U.S. Geological Survey, and who else am I missing?
Weather Service, Corps of
Weather
Engineers.
Service and Corps of Engineers, of course, have worked together to create a tool for us. And the tool, it involves putting many more gauges out in rivers and the tributaries. And it's a predictive model for us upon which to base faster and more reliable decision-making. And that'll be rolled out and demonstration made. We're also working on a project called NERV, which is a tool citizens can use, a website that they can go to, and if we have an emergency, partial in some cases, but for sure in a full activation, that citizens can access to get the most recent information from Metro regarding our efforts. Like for instance, public works, police and school closures, sheltering, evacuation for shelters, with links to other agencies that we're partners with, that they have websites. So that's a new and exciting tool that's under development. Also, your unified task force on flood recovery management continues to work in terms of long-range capital ideas and projects that will help in the mitigation phase of the emergency management. We're also looking at our community hotlines transitioning to the 311 center. And we're in the process of training those folks now. So we have more of a pool of volunteers to do that. And in their work, it's such a logical transition because they're helping everyday citizens. And the transition when we have an emergency to those folks is a logical transition. Plus, we'll provide additional staff for our community hotlines. That's just a preview, though. More to come.
Good, good, all right. Rich?
No, sir, this is the deputy's area.
Greg, just take it away.
No questions. Okay.
Well, thank you all. We did mention in the previous hearing that we fully activated a couple weeks ago during what really was the most serious tornado threat we've had since 2006, I think. And obviously we had hail damage here, but we didn't have anything near what could have happened. But I thank you all for the great work you do and being there every time we need you. So thanks.
Thank you.